So Susan Guthrie has really been at the forefront in, inspiring people, showing them how to use new AI tools. She herself has an amazing podcast that is very well known, and people follow her from all over the world in understanding how to use AI. She does trainings. She's got a new book out. She had been the chair of the American Bar Association Dispute Resolution Section. And moreover, she's just a fabulous, nice, and generous person to spend time with us and to help us think about AI in mediation in particular. So, first of all, Susan, we are just thrilled that you participated in this and are helping us out with column number 2.
I'm excited to be here. I loved column number one, so I'm honored to be in column number two. Thank you.
Well, so what we asked you in advance of this is kind of what are your top tools that you're using? Because one thing that we're really dedicated with this column and thinking through how can we help mediators introduce them to using different AI tools, make it not scary or threatening, but actually an opportunity. And we asked you sort of what are you using now and what are your favorite tools? So maybe we'll start there.
Yeah, and I love what you're doing with this because this is exactly what I tried to do too. And I have to tell you, you asked me for three, and I went, oh no, because I use AI tools all day, every day. And my favorite thing of the day is to find a new one that does something. So to narrow it down to just three, I actually don't think I did that. I gave you a few extras in there, but
But so, for example, today, what would be the tool that you've been using the most today?
well, so every morning when I wake up, I try to get my social media done, my posts. So that's LinkedIn and Instagram and all. And I do that from here with my cup of coffee. So ChatGPT is my go to. I mean, I have it on here, it's on page one of my phone. And there's not a time during the day where I'm not picking up my phone to check something out on ChatGPT.
You suggest one of the suggestions you shared was Gemini and it's gems. Do you want to tell us a little bit about a gem you use on a regular basis? Because this is, I think, a newer component of Gemini, this gems opportunity.
Yeah, I don't use others pre-made gems. I like to make my own. And that's what I find to be so helpful with them because you can make a gem. And for those who like ChatGPT, there are GPTs. For those who like Claude, there are artifacts. They're all the same thing. They're curated little AI assistants that you can make according to your own instructions to carry things out for you. So in the mediation world, you can use them in ways you can create gems that will carry out tasks for you, that will help onboard clients and do client intake for you in accordance with your specific curated intake form, and then take that information and translate it into a pre-mediation briefing or something of that nature. And you can have different gems. So if you do different types of mediation, you could have a gem for landlord tenant, you could have a gem for employment, you could have a gem for family, whatever those things might be. But where I've been really enjoying them lately is creating gems to help others. So a lot of us do things, I work with clients these days more in a coaching basis or with my books. And so I've been creating gems that go along with the books to help people sort of do what I'm talking about in the books, but carry that out beyond the pages. But you can use it. One of the things I love about it, one of my colleagues created a gem. She does family mediation, and a lot of times co-parents have difficult communication, right? They can get a little heated with each other. And so she's created a gem that kind of neutralizes that high conflict language for them. I always call it, if you know Bill Eddy at all, it kind of biffs the language for people around that. But you can create gems that can pretty much do anything that you want, and they're private unless you choose to make them public.
And I assume
Wow.
that's with a paid version of Gemini then.
I do pay so with Gemini, I pay the $20 per month.
Okay.
ChatGPT, I do the enterprise version. So I pay a whopping, I think it's $30 per month. But I on Gemini, yes, I think and I think it's the same with Claude. I think you have to have the paid version. The gems or GPTs or artifacts that other people make and choose to make public, like our friend John Landy has created,
Mhm.
his coach, he's made that public. That's free, and that's free and available to anyone at any level of membership of ChatGPT.
Oh, that's great. And for students out there at institutions or other academics, you may be able to log in to Gemini and be able to use gems or something similar through your institutional account.
And if I can give one little insider tip about creating the gems or the GPTs with artifacts, I use the tools to help create the instructions to create the gems. So I go to the Gemini side and say, hey, Gemini, I want to create a gem with you that does this. And then I explain it. And I say, please help me create, very robust rules and explanations and instructions for you and then I cut and paste it in there. And then the reason I like gems so much lately is that it's a little more facile in making tweaks to it after you create it the first time. So, but they're all wonderful. They all do a great job.
That's
Oh, it's
amazing.
wonderful.
Yeah, that's so cool. I know. I gotta try that because I actually have not. So that
You're going
sounds
to go
really
down a rabbit
awesome.
hole because once you see what it can do I mean, my niece is using one she created to help her plan her wedding. There's dinner reservation ones, there's vacation planning. I mean, every aspect of your life. But for those of us who are in the mediation field or working with others to help them, or students and professors, there's so many things that we can do to get information across, right? Like think of a gem that you might create that explains a difficult concept or allows students to practice, say, reframing, right? That sets up little role
Right.
plays for them right within a gem that they so that you now have it in a contained little, you send them the link and off they go. And it will always be there for you to go and be able to check. They can share the output with you.
I
That is
love
amazing. Yeah,
I
that's
love these
cool.
ideas, and I I was able to play around a little bit with Describe and Descript, and I would love to hear a little bit more about how you're using Descript to aid your mediation practice. One of the one of the opportunities on that site is to change where your eyes are looking. And we are not using that feature right now in this recording. I just want to be clear about it. But if you're reading a script off camera, the AI will move your eyes so that you're focused on the camera and you're making eye contact with the video. Fascinating. I thought it was a little eerie the first time I saw it, but we're probably all going to become accustomed to it. So how do you use that platform, Susan?
I use it all the time. Mostly, I will say, in my podcasts, right? So I have the two podcasts, and it's really, I couldn't do them without it these days because of the video recording, the editing. You can clone your own voice so that you can have it speak in your voice, even though you didn't record something. You can just upload a script, you can create videos. But think again about all the different things, especially you two as educators. We know that people learn things in different ways. And one of the things that we do as mediators, or in a variety of different ways in our world, is try to get information across. And we're doing it with people who are in times of crisis. And so anything that we can do to make it easier for them to assimilate information. So imagine creating for your onboarding package a simple video that walks them through how to prepare for their first mediation session. You can do that, anyone with the AI assistance of Descript can create that video, edit that video, have it, have the subtitles put on there and make it look like a very professional product in a matter of minutes. It's just a one and done platform for you.
Wow. So are some of your, like, have you used it for some of your podcasts where it's really not you?
Oh yeah. So
Oh,
I have one.
wow.
not where I mean it was me, and then I might have uploaded
Is this you now?
this is me now. This is because so that's different. That's an avatar. Hey Jen can do an avatar of you. So that's a different one. But the time that I've used it most often is I had one guest who came on the podcast and we taped the entire episode. And at the very, very end, she told me I had been mispronouncing her name throughout the entire episode. I'm like, gosh, I wish you told me that at the beginning. And in the past, I would have had to record the entire episode again, or at least record her name and have, patched it in. Now, all I had to do was go in and have the AI change in my voice to pronounce her name correctly throughout the entire script. And in a matter of minutes, that was all cleaned up and no problem. And it can up level. So sometimes you have a guest on, Amy, you know this, right? Who maybe doesn't have a great audio setup, right? They may not have the fancy things and all that. Now you can just run it through and have it do studio quality sound, and everyone sounds like we're sitting in an audio booth in some studio as opposed to on a Zoom screen in our apartment. So it's
Right,
great.
right. Oh,
Yeah,
wow. That is so amazing. I love that. Yeah, and
yeah.
I think that you're right. Students and people in general, and I'm sure clients, I mean, to provide that sort of guidance to prepare them for mediation, that sounds really amazing. I mean, I think a lot of mediators would benefit from that.
Well, and I mean, I get very interested in marketing and different ways that we as professionals put ourselves out there. Any way we can support our clients, any way we can support mediation by explaining it. So putting out little explainer videos on our websites. I mean, all of those things are so much easier to do when you have, everybody will say, oh, I don't know how to edit a video. You don't need to know how to edit a video because Descript has everything in there to do it for you.
Right.
So that just makes it, and Notebook LM, that's another one that we can use. I love Notebook. I didn't put it on my list, but it's another way that we can repurpose information that we've prepared for people. I would imagine as professors, you do this all the time. You prepare it in one format, upload that slide deck or upload that script or transcript, and it will turn it into a little podcast, and it will turn it into a little video, and it will turn it into FAQs, and it will turn it into anything you might want. And so
Yeah.
another way, I'm big on repurposing information for people.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I actually found out about Notebook LM, gosh, over a year ago from students, right?
Yes.
Because students are using it all the time to create like learning tools, to create podcasts out of their class notes, to create like flashcards. I mean, all sorts of things. And
Anything you could think of.
yeah,
One of my mediators that I work with had this idea, and he said it's amazing. He has uploaded all of so into a Notebook LLM, all of the decisions in a certain type of case in his jurisdiction in which he mediates all the time. And so he's basically created a closed system where he can go and it gives him the cases. He can search for whatever he's looking for, the precedents for this, and it gives him links directly to the materials that he's uploaded. So he has an immediate way. It's not making things up, right? It's not hallucinating because that's
mhm,
not the context in which it's being used.
mhm.
So he's able to get that information, and he's created this whole little, ecosystem for himself. He said it didn't even take an hour.
Really
Wow, I
smart.
think that's amazing. And
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to see more and more of that. And it's funny, we've talked about before, the fear, right? Because right away someone will think, oh, but it's going to make it up, it's going to hallucinate. But that is a different type of AI, right? I mean,
Right.
now we are talking about RAG systems, we're talking about agentic AI. It's trained specifically, like with your friend, on the data that he provided. That's
Right.
very
Which
different
he
from
knows is
web
correct.
crawling. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 That's
And I love that
amazing.
you mentioned that people are afraid, that our colleagues are afraid. I was mentioning to Bill earlier. I think we all hear that. That's one of the reasons I'm just so happy you're doing this project. Um, and when it comes to the hallucinations, one of the things I want to always remind people is expect the hallucinations, but that's not the problem. The
Right.
problem is people aren't checking the work We would do it with an associate. We would
Yeah.
do it. I had a judge ask me the other day, he said it was cheating to have ChatGPT write an opinion. And I said, well, Your Honor, do you write all your opinions? And he said, well, no, my clerk does. And I said,
No.
is that cheating?
Is that cheating? Yeah.
But he
Yeah.
said, yes, but I read them all and I check them. And I said, I think the answer is right in what you're saying. We
Yeah.
have control.
And that's what I love so much about Describe. Describe, of course, as you shared with us, is this open access AI site that gives folks the opportunity to search about case law across the US. And you can select your jurisdiction if you want to. And it seems to do a good job with short summaries, like like a sentence, a couple of words that might connect back to your search. It gives you a rating for the percentage of your search that applies to that decision. And then there's a short text summary. But just as important, you can check the accuracy of that text summary by clicking the link and going directly to the full text of the opinion. And that's what you get for free. There are some paid add-ons that I don't know about, and I didn't click through. But it's a really a lively site that seems to democratize access and quick access to case law. It just took a few seconds to get, I don't know, over 100 opinions in one search that I conducted.
Yeah, I really admire what they have done. I had Cara Peterson, who's one of the co-founders with her husband of the platform, and they created it to democratize access to legal research. And the idea that anyone can just have plain language inquiries to be able to search. I mean, think about all the time we spent learning, the keywords and what had to go in hashtags and what had to go in quotes. And, your average layperson, I couldn't remember all of that, let alone your average layperson. And the idea that anyone is able to do that, they've really created a robust tool, and it's free. It's free. Yes, there are their add-ons, and by the way, they're amazing. So they're well worth paying for, and far less than what you're going to pay for some of our bigger name, well-known colleagues. But for free, for those who don't need to do a ton of legal research, if you're, this is the free aspect is just amazing, and they just they're getting more and more accolades for, as they should. But the access to justice aspect of it was really what got my attention, and that they're doing it so well.
I love
Yeah.
that. That really is important because I will say one of the things that does worry me is this sort of like AI arms race, right? So,
Sure.
with the largest law firms having Harvey and they all have their own AI systems and they're so robust and there's so much that goes into it and they're using their own data. And then you worry that the little guys can't really compete.
Yeah. Although,
Yeah.
I mean, I think a study just came out. You may know more about it than I did, Amy, that 95% of the firms that have spent millions of dollars on these closed systems aren't really using them. They
Oh,
they
wow. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
don't know what they have. They don't understand how to use them. And I think one of the gaps that we have is they don't have anyone who's out there who knows how to use them to come in and train their people.
Hmm.
Because the people who are creating the technologies are technologists in most cases and don't really understand, especially in the dispute resolution world, what our needs are and what we need to do. So there's this gap of, you get this, like, it's like having I don't even know, like a Ferrari in the garage, and you're using it like a push mower to help you draft emails or something, and they just don't know. So that gap will close. But I do think it's interesting that the biggest money that's been spent is just basically sitting around gathering dust.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's starting to change though, but especially as, to be honest, some of the younger attorneys come in and they're all over it, right? And
Yeah.
they know how to use it and they're rocking and rolling and they're driving that Ferrari. So,
Well, only the ones who have professors like you two, right? Who are, on that side of, we need to harness this technology. We need to create new lawyers and new practitioners who embrace this and understand it. Unfortunately, we have others who are in that, for good reason, cautious, but caution shouldn't stop us from learning how to harness the power. It
Yeah,
just should
yeah.
tell us that we need to do what we know how to do, and that is be ethical practitioners who are
Mhm.
competent, maintain, all the things that we know how to do. The utter like, no, we're just not going to use
Oh, I
it,
know.
it isn't helpful to anyone.
No, and unfortunately, I
Right.
actually think dispute resolution, they're even worse
Yeah.
than other areas of the law, right? In terms of like,
Oh,
well, no, because dispute resolution, it's all about, I mean, they're even scared of remote hearings. I mean,
Oh yeah, no, still. I went
that
back
like,
when I
oh
was teaching
no, you can't mediate
Zoom.
online because then it takes away,
Yeah.
the human
Oh, if you don't
contact.
have rapport, you can't create trust. I can't see the tapping foot. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
all through COVID, but part of it I think is the dispute resolution profession does still trend to an older demographic.
Mhm.
Many people are coming to dispute resolution as a second or third prong of their career. And we're not getting that younger Gen Z, but they do say, in the ABA, we're doing a lot of research on where the legal profession is going. And by 2030, the vast number of practitioners are going to be millennials and Gen Z. And
Mhm.
we old
yeah.
dinosaurs,
Yeah.
Hey,
like we're all enough. You're not that
I'm
old, but
I'm theoretically a millennial. I think. I'm not quite sure. I don't follow those trends very
I
much.
think I'm
I
Gen X. So
I
well,
think I'm a
Susan,
dinosaur.
oh please, you guys aren't dinosaurs. You guys are on the cutting edge, that's for sure. I'm the novice in this group of three. So at this point in the conversation, I froze. I was trying to ask Susan a question about her images of RGB. Specifically, I asked Susan what RGB would think about the use of AI in the law, and specifically in the context of mediation and dispute resolution.
such a good question. No one has ever asked me about what RBG might think, but I mean, RBG was not a traditional practitioner by any means throughout her career. She was a trailblazer. And so I do think that she would have been and such a curious mind and an agile mind. If you read her opinions, if you read her writings, I think she would have been fascinated by this and by the potential of this, especially the access to justice,
Mhm.
especially that ability for creative and collaborative work that you can do with these tools, right? We tend to use them as these little like sidekicks, and that's the lowest use of their power. It's when we combine and collaborate with them. I think she would have been typing away with her little gloved hands at that computer, talking to Chatty and God knows what would have come out of her. Imagine she was prolific anyway. Imagine what she could have created with that kind of support.
I agree. Yeah, because I was listening to NPR today, and they had a very well-known, talking just about AI and just the importance of it's not about age, it's about a growth mindset. And she definitely had a growth mindset. And that I think is true of you, too, Susan. I mean, you've been just embracing and really just have been so innovative in your use of AI. And it's just such a thrill to like get advice from you, right? And I guess on that front, no, on that front, what would you say is kind of and we're creating this both for experts and novice. So first of
Yeah.
all, if you're somebody who is quite familiar with AI, you use Chatty or Gemini or whatever it might be as your favorite friend, and you already are, you're embracing trying to use different AI tools, but then you think, gosh, it's just a lot. How do I keep up with all of it? Do you have any advice on that? Because that's, I'd say, where I am, right? Like, I definitely understand AI. I teach a class called Justice Tech where we're using AI, but I feel like, man, I don't have time to keep up with all these different tools and try them all out. And I want to, but I don't have time. So, how do you prioritize? What advice do you have?
That is where I'm at as well, right? Because I'm endlessly fascinated by these technologies. So what I've done, two things. One is I've subscribed to just a couple of really good newsletters that come in my inbox every morning. And one of the things that it's sort of the latest of what's happened today, like the day we're taping this, OpenAI launched their browser, right? Like something big happens every day. But then it also has 3 or 4 tools to try and it tells you what they do. So I always skim through those and check them out and linked and check those. But you know who else is really good at keeping up with these things? Our little AI friends. And so you
Yeah.
can actually create a gem or a GPT that can go and find, what are your interests? What are helpful to you? And ask it, you know, ask it to go out there and do those searches and come back with some suggestions for what you might want to look at. And on Friday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when you're winding down, or Monday when you're starting your week, have it deliver it to you to go through it. And once it starts to get to know you, like Chatty knows me at this point, it sends me things that might help with my podcast, that might help writing with the books, might help with the articles, any of those things. It's really incredible. We think of going to these tools for answers, and we need to start thinking about them as the partner for, hey, I don't know the answer. How can you help me find the answer? How can you help me figure out what the question is? That's my
Mhm.
favorite one. I don't
Mhm.
even know what I need to know
Mhm.
or what I
Mhm.
want to know, but here's my problem. They're excellent at that. So that's, if you're in there and using them, get more curious.
Yeah. No, that is what I have loved, is the kind of collaboration, right? I always say that to students too, is they're so great for brainstorming.
Ah, yeah, they're
It's such
wonderful.
a good use of AI. Yeah, yeah.
So wonderful with it.
Absolutely.
And that's how, I've gotten to a point where I may not even know that I have an idea, but after a half-hour conversation with Chatty, I'm like, oh, well, that'd make a great book, article, podcast, something, talk,
Yeah.
webinar, whatever
Yeah.
that might be. So,
Yeah. That's excellent.
Thanks for that great idea. I might add on to this video and try to do one myself, just
see,
offhand, to demonstrate that it can be done, even by a novice.
I love
anybody
it.
can do it, especially when you ask the tool to create the own instructions to do what it is you want to do. That's the real secret. My gems got a lot better when I stopped trying to create them and used the tool to help me create them.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Susan. This has been really a delight, and I know that I've learned a ton. And I'm just grateful to have you on our second column and episode of this conversation.